Hey everybody, it's Tom here again. Today we're doing another Led Zeppelin song because that's what we like to do here. We're going to look at Over the Hills and Far Away. This one might be the one of the crown jewels in Zeppelin's original mission statement, which was to combine really light acoustic textures with really heavy and hard rock sounds and blues-based sounds in the same song. This song definitely goes on an adventure through, there's several different layers of guitar, several different acoustic guitars, harmonized guitars at one point, there's an electric guitar solo, all kinds of different twists and turns to the song, and we're going to get on it right now. Let's just go look at the tab. I'm on the official version on Ultimate Guitar, because I have the subscription to that. It's really handy. Their library is the biggest for sure. And you can pick and choose between different interpretations of the tab. This one is pretty good. There's a couple things in here that I would maybe suggest playing something a little different. We'll talk about that when we get to it. Let's get on this here. So the iconic opening acoustic riff to this song So that's our phrase that repeats as the motif throughout the entire intro. A good way to think of this phrase, a couple things to point out. Number one, that's its entire length. It starts on the back end of a bar, triplet and a one, triplet and a triplet, two, triplet and a one, triplet and a triplet two. So we've got a riff that its initial phrase is a little off kilter behind the beat, and what's really happening here is we're playing a phrase out of the G major scale. We're hitting G to A and back. We got F sharp to D, back to G, and then we've done our melody, landed on a G note, and then G is the chord. I find myself always doing G with the B note fretted, but I think this song calls for the open G, or the open B string in our G chord right there. Next, our fill is longer, but we also end after this double pull off. That's where we want to have 4th fret and 2nd fret held down, do one pick and pull away from 4 to 2 to open, land on a D note there on the D string, and sure enough, D is our next chord. The other thing to watch out for in this song is it's really easy to accidentally extend this little block of D strumming here. It seems like we might want to take more time to do it, but if we do, the riff falls off kilter. We'll see that as the song plays on here. Let's put it on for a second. That little ending, and then this guitar abruptly stops. This has to do with the arrangements and the recording environment here. When this round of the intro 1, comes to an end, this guitar just hits a G, the key that we're in, and then fades away quickly in the mix, because acoustic guitar 2, playing pretty much the same thing, is going to come in here, but at the same time there's also a 12-string guitar coming in, playing, again, the same thing. So we've gone from one guitar playing it to 2 other guitars playing it with a different stereo mix, and one of those guitars is a 12. And we get that chimey sound that happens as the second part of the intro drops in. If we play on through here, we didn't go back and decode this part yet. So when we come to the end of our G and D pattern, da 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 G, da 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 D, G again, D. Finally here in bar 8, we're going to do this little rundown from a C add 9. I'm looking at right there. Yeah. And then we've got this interesting chord here. We kind of have it's a B flat major, but with a G note in it. G would be the 6th note of a B flat, so it's a B flat 6 due to that open G. When we pick it and slide it, all those same fingers up the same strings to the 3rd and 5th fret, then it just becomes a regular C, because this G note on the open string is now native to a C chord, and that's what the rest of the grip around it is doing anyway. So we're going from B flat 6 up to C. So at that moment, right about here should be where, yeah, acoustic guitar 2 starts coming in. We'll follow acoustic guitar 2 the rest of the way through the intro here. So we come back. We've got the same bit going on here. It continues on. Now this time, when we get to the end of our round, we go to C add 9 again, and to B, but only briefly, and then on to G. And then we've got so there, we've got our second ending. This is intro 2. We're ending differently this time. We go C add 9. Do, do, do. We have this little melody going on the bass strings that we're letting the chords strum out or ring out while we strum it. And then we've got those little pull-off open string moves. And we're going from a D here in bar 18 to a D sus2 and back to G. And then it just repeats that little move there with the D, D sus2 back to G. We have that a couple of times. And let's go from here. Vocals are in now. Now there's a bit of a thing. This comes up suddenly. I think they might be over fretting, doing too many strings here on that part. But what happened there is, as the vocals came in, hey lady, you got the love I need, maybe. And then when he says more than enough, we do this cool little move, kind of sliding to a G. Now they've got it going to open, but I think rather than go to the open E and the open B, we could just grab the E there on the 5th fret, and then the B note here on the 4th fret, so we're still grabbing our shape. So that would be, this whole part could be played as, and then we can drop in here with our 2 fingers we weren't using to grab the 5th fret. And I personally would just stay on those 2 strings and hit the D string open if you need to emphasize the chord note more. So we've got... Oh, what am I doing? There we go. So this little difference only comes in when the lyrics go, and it sort of follows a little bit of what Robert Plant does. He does some sort of inflection in his melody, and this reflects a little change in there, and we don't see that again. We then go on to the rest of the intro. Oh, and then right away, we're back to this. And here, they're doing a little something different with the susses, because this is intro 3. We're about to go into a little bridging part that moves us into the verse of the song. So this is kind of a whole thing. Let's watch it go maybe from about here, bar 26. At that point, the song goes into the heavy part, into the electric guitar. But let's back up a little bit here. We've got, as soon as we're done, we've got to run up to a G here, and then to an A. And then we're just juggling between those two chords. So this is the D shape moved up to where it's a G. So at the 7th and 8th frets, that's a G. 2 frets further, it's going to give us an A. And that's all that's happening here, aside from you got the D string ringing in as the bass. And then I like to throw the thumb over to get that part in bar 32. Let's move the bar over there. And they do it twice in a row. And then right about here, you saw me jump down and do those big chord changes. It's right in this moment here in bar 34, which is when the electric kind of comes in and stays in. And this is one other part right here, the way that they voice these chords. That's one other thing I kind of disagree with. Let me switch guitars here for a second. So they're saying D sus2 to D, and then I guess a D to an A, which is right. But instead of a D sus2 here as the first thing, I would just hit that power chord G, or that, I should say, the D in the high strings version of G. G, D, D, A. Down, up, down, up. That to me is how that has always sounded and felt best to play when I've played the song in the past. I'm going to turn on the count-in. I noticed that I left it off for some reason. And let's watch where this goes. A little rough there on those chords for me. So let's talk about what happened there. We've got this verse pattern going, starting here at bar 35. We're hitting the G5 5 times. 1 E and a 2. And then we're going tick a tick as we move over to grab this A chord over here. And I recommend doing it as open, especially because it's easy to grab that note rather than reaching out like that. That's a little bit of a stretch. Some tabs show it like that. then here again, this is just those same chords as before. It should be a G, D, D, A. And I think with everything that the other guitars are layering in and playing, this works out to be a G, D, D, A. But there's a few songs on here, especially some of these acoustic electric crossover ones, where the tab is just somewhat, I think they're overdoing it maybe. So we play that back and forth, G to A to G to the chords, G to A to G, and then instead of the chords here, we go into this great riff. And it has these really quick whole step bends. So that last 5 here in the phrase, we want it to sound like the E, but we have to bend up there quickly. We could also, like if you want to fake it, just go up to that note and play the 7th fret, but the attitude in the riff is to bend it. Then we go, and we just end on the big string, still with that same fast full step bend move. So I'm using my pointer finger, but I'm being sure to really yank on it quick and make sure that I'm not going to go like this and pull out and lose the note when I try to do it too quick. Because if I'm doing that with my pointer finger, I don't really have a backup finger, but it feels like the right finger given what's being played. So this one also repeats itself and then turns back into our chord strumming thing. Here they've even left a strum out. This is kind of annoying, some inconsistencies like this. But if we're familiar with the song, we know what's going on there. So at this point, we're just going to see verse 2 and verse 3 kind of play out. Verse 3. So there we got a real change. After verse 3, we go into a break. Our break, suddenly the rhythm of the chorus changes. We got a little bit of a feel change up. The first time I went up to A here, but that's the same thing if you go down to this A here instead. So we got G to D to A to E. G to G, D to D, D A E. And then we got a little fill there that honestly, I don't know if I've ever noticed that in the song. It must be pretty subtle. Let's see. Oops. Here we go. Now, we're getting into the solo here. We've got a rhythm riff on the lead guitar, and then a separate track here is listed for solo guitar. The riff here is, there's a couple ways to play this. The way I kind of traditionally have done it, instead of grabbing the D shape up there at 6-7 and sliding around like that, or I've always gone up to just to the 2 little strings, and we grab the same C sharp and F sharp notes, but we can pull off and drop back on, and I feel like, having the 3rd note in this one here is negligible. And then we can just make it positional. And there this is another one of those Jimmy Page ones where we'll find it easier to just flatten another finger and come off it kind of sloppy. Especially because we got to play it fast. Oh, we got that second ending in bar 62. Let's hear that a second. Missed it. There we go. So that riff persists until we get to the end of the solo, which is brief, but still got a few good Jimmy Page moves in there. Why don't we go... Let's go back a little bit, because the soloing or the lead guitar kind of starts making its appearance in the break before the solo. Specifically here, well, that big... well, that's still playing. We're going to notice some nice bend work here going on. That felt a little sloppy myself. I kind of rushed on that, but there we're bending up, leaving it bent up, and then pulling it back down after we pick B. There's the B, and then we pick it and pull it back down to its resting position. And then we go do the same thing at 9 and 10, same strings. And then we have a little phrase. And then we got another repeat. And the same phrase, or with a different ending. Now, if I'm not wrong, there's probably, I think it's the additional guitar here. Yeah. Does a harmony to that. And is there additional guitar too? Not here. So we'll actually hear... only on the fill, and it kind of looks like they actually just mirrored them, had them swap over each other. Let's go back and see. Yeah, almost. It's not quite the same, but it's a clever little thing to enrich the sound there. We've got the guitars kind of just bubbling up here while there's a new riff going at the same time. Song kind of getting into more interesting territory, and then we get into the actual solo here. And this one, I think it's time to do a little speed trainer stuff. Let's just check our running time here. Oh, we're already at 23 minutes. Yeah, let's just go for it. So we're gonna bring it down to about, let's try 50% speed and see what it's like. Our solo, the band has changed to F sharp for the key with that riff. And so our solo is going to be around that F sharp minor box, and then also up here in the same box, 12 frets higher up at the 14th fret is the same thing. So let's see what's going on in here. Try it out. Then we move up. Now we got this thing. the end of the solo. That was also a little, I guess, harmony riff happening here as well. If we go to that, I think it's the lead guitar, does it? Yeah. Back to the regular lead guitar, our solo riff comes to an end. And then this guy, well, let's play that one part again. We just saw the high notes of it. Here's the low notes. So what's going on? We're actually just arpeggiating the chord F sharp 7. F sharp dominant 7. We got the 1, the 3rd, the 5th, the flat 7th, the 1, 3rd, 5th, flat 7th, 1, 3rd, 5th, flat 7th, 1, again. And then if we go back to that solo guitar, it's just doing, like if the first guitar was on the 1, we're on the 3rd, 4th, or 3rd, 5th, 7th, and then here we're on oh yeah, then we go to a 3rd again, and so on. So we're just kind of climbing up around those same notes that the lead guitar is stronger on. So I would say if we're thinking what is the dominant riff here, it's this one on the low notes. So the band has been in F sharp, and then we're going up an F sharp 7 chord so that we can have that F sharp 7 wants to resolve, and we're going to resolve it back to A minor for the or back to, I guess, back to G, but riffing around the middle of the key. Right after that, we jump back into our riff rather abruptly. Now let's go back and do the little more speed trainer stuff there on that solo. That was pretty good at 50%. Let's go back to here. So what we noticed in this, yeah, sure enough, we're in that low box for F sharp minor, kind of working our way down the strings till we're on a riff that just concentrates on the note F sharp. We run up here for a brief bit before returning to that F sharp, and then here in bar 66 we have a departure, and we just go up, and there we've got a gradual but extreme bend. Da, 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 da. And then we grab the 17th fret, and we try to put it all the way up to C sharp if we can, and then we get, that's sort of like a Jimmy Page slow melodic move just by bending, and then we're kind of into, and this one, that's a tricky little rhythm to get into if you're not playing into it. I want to try it a couple more times before I start describing it in great detail, because I want to make sure I know what's up. We're going to go from the top of the solo here. Now we're at 58% speed. Back that up a bar. That was trash. Oh my god. Right at the bottom of my scroll there. So there, it's all about what happens in this little step right here that lands us into that move. Let's isolate that a little bit. We don't want to sleep on that. So we want to make sure let this last note lag and then push it up on the start of beat 3, and that'll put us into it. 1 and a 2 and a. Oh, I kept repeating down here. The song did not. Let's give it those 2 bars. Yeah. That's kind of getting it. So let's go back to the entire solo now. Take the loop off here. And we maybe try that at 71 or so. Jump it up around 10% each time. Climb up to the F sharp chord that I don't really consider that part of the solo so much as we'd have to switch back to the lead guitar and play that riff. If we're doing, you know, the one guitar, what Jimmy would have played kind of thing. That was pretty good at 71. I didn't feel too many hiccups. Let's try 81. Not too bad there. There's a little something here. Yeah, we just want to make sure that this doesn't start to feel like these 2 notes. Tempting to want to go dun dun, but these are the ones that have that emphasis. Let's take a look. Different emphasis. So here we've got vibrato, staccato, doo-doo, and then we've got staccato bend. So that little shift that's what makes the end of that start to go. Okay, let's try it up at 90%. We're almost there, guys. Here we go. Let's see if we can line it all up. Coming and I didn't do it right. Let's just take it up to regular speed here. Come on. Oh my gosh. There we go. we're getting a little long on the video, so I don't want to do too many repeats here. Let's try it out like this. I'd say we got pretty close. I still didn't nail this little thing here, but we faked it okay. And let's just go see what other things are in the rest of the song, because we want to get through this whole track. And we're mostly repeating ourselves the rest of the way. In fact, we hit back to the bridge riff with that quick bend on the pointer finger, back to the verse, back to the bridge riff, back to the verse. Finally, we hit the outro. Let's go from here. So what's happening here, I biffed it a couple times, almost pulled it out of the hat, is we're going 2 Gs, oh, that little back and forth open string, and landing on a D. And then on a G. There's one other cool thing to mention that happens here, because there's all this outro time at the end that looks like not much is happening. And then we see, I think it's one of the additional guitars. Yeah. We've got still some missing time here, and I think it's one of these acoustics comes back at the very end. What's happening? The real thing that's happening in the song is we hear this strange chimey kind of it's like a ghost of the original lead riff right around here. Just gonna see if we have it in any of the layers. It's looking like not, but maybe it's the clavinet. Oh yeah, they've got it marked out as a clavinet here, but that's not really what it is. So I just want to hear how this sounds. Yeah. So they tabbed it as a clavinet and did a good job on the melody here, but what's really happening is they're sending the main riff quietly through a reverb pedal or a reverb tank. And I can't do this on my setup, but then what they're doing is they're removing the initial pick attack. They're taking the whole attack out and leaving only the reverb tails. Da 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 da, da 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 da, da 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 da. So listen close in the real recording, and you can hear that's going on. Then one other thing we have to look at here, just the very, very end. We've got these cool chords. Oh. Ooh, that was kind of rough. We're going from a C with the pinky in there on the high string, still a C, to a G over B. It's kind of like the end of intro 1, but they've got the high string grabbed in here too, and they're not bothering with the D string when we get to bar 110. So this is that B flat 6. Now we just got it gripped up high, and then we got a C, add 9. Oh yeah, we could do it like that. We're finally to a G, and there's yet another guitar somewhere in there going at the very end on that G. That last thing, that's just grabbing the 2 high notes from a G, way up high, and then bending an A till it's a B, which would be a lot like a G chord there. Oh. So that goes up as the whole band lands on G, and then we're all set. So that's Over the Hills and Far Away. That's a long time on the video. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. Sooner or later, we're going to get enough YouTube cred, I guess, to put chapters in these things, and you guys can skip around and see just what you want to see. But yeah, enjoy this video, guys. Talk to you soon. Get at me if you have comments, requests, suggestions, anything like that. Bye for now.